Mr. Hamre?
Thank you, Chair. So, I wrote something earlier this evening, and it echoes a lot of what Jonathan just said, so I'm not going to really get too far into what I wrote. But I did write about a way that I want to ask you to consider the approach that we take to addressing our schools, the administration, not necessarily this board. Treat us as you're going to treat us. I'm not going to ask for any special treatments at all. But for the purposes of our educators and everybody on the front lines and behind the lines for the students, consider for a minute the analogy of those being teachers that are teaching our children to swim. They have a responsibility to introduce them to the water and get them comfortable with the process of being in a pool. And at one point, they go further into the pool with the students to further that education, if you will. This is the analogy building to their education. And as they get deeper into the pool, where the teacher can no longer touch the floor of the pool, they have to tread the water while still teaching the students how to swim, keeping them afloat while they learn their way in the pool. Consider for a minute then what they've had to go through, and that's just under regular circumstances, the analogy of teaching in general. Consider for a minute then what those teachers have had to do over the last 2 years of this pandemic response. They've been shackled by the COVID response, the measurements taken to protect and keep safe their students, and each other for that matter. They've been limited to the amount of water that they can tread in because of the restrictions and limitations and virtual learnings and all that goes along with the hybrid model. And situations that come up, as have been discussed earlier this evening, do nothing more than throw chains around those instructors, around those teachers trying to keep the children afloat. And the children will suffer from that as much as the teachers will. The teachers will need to get out of the pool at some point for their own survival. It's just a matter of how long they can tread the water with all the additional weight that they're bearing. I don't wish that on anybody. I don't know why anybody would. I would ask that the actions be taken to consider the impact that it's having on the instructors, on those frontline teachers, on the administration, on the people responsible for providing the best education that Mr. LeBlanc mentioned they are receiving in this district, and that they are afforded the opportunity to pursue their profession, to achieve their vocation as they've imagined it. Nobody gets into this vocation because they want the money and the fame. Thank you for acknowledging that. I appreciate that. They do not do this for the money. They do it because they want their children, their students, their charges to be successful in their education. And as such, they deserve the support. And I trust the administration for the process that is in place when things don't go as planned. Now, to that point, I've learned a lot after the fact. I have. I knew nothing of what I spoke of when we had our virtual meeting until after the fact. Shame on me for not having that awareness that was out there in the Facebook realm. I don't apologize for what I said because I stick to that. I trust our administration and I trust the processes when things don't go right. Those processes are in place. We are the last line in the disciplinary process for this district. We do not have any knowledge of these things until they come to us through the proper channels, until something comes up like this where it just explodes. So again, I make no apologies for my response at that time. I did not know about the situation at that time, and I do appreciate the efforts to bring it to my attention. I'm better for it. I thank you very much for your time on that topic. JFK has a newsletter that goes out. It's available online. And to Mr. Ryder's credit, again, keeping that Enfield PTO updated, you can get to this newsletter through the JFK, through the Enfield PTO website. And Dr. Berrios has a really good piece on internet safety. To Ms. Cushman's concerns earlier, not quite, but he makes a good plea for the awareness that goes into being online and that social. I'm going to get the phrase wrong, but that digital identity. Correct me on that phrase if I can, but it ties into that, and it's worth reading what Dr. Berrios has to say about that. To that point, JFK's got a PTO meeting tomorrow night, virtual. Looking to learn more about what's going on over there and bring any of these concerns or receive any of the concerns at that time. Thank you.